Here we are at the third installment of using the XL fixture for milling bangles. Step number 3. To review, in the first movie we talked about milling a hub. We would have started in a 95 by 105 by 10 millimeter piece of wax, plain like this, in the XL fixture. That fixture would have gone on the mill in preparation for doing the first mill job, which is cutting out the hub. Here we see the hub being manufactured in the center of our wax. We start by milling out the two flat areas for the hub to grab onto and then the holes. And here's our hub finished. At the end of the job, we've got the arrow. The other side is just as smooth, and we've got our holes. The secret at this point is do not remove the wax from the fixture. This way we maintain the cardinal relationship of where the hub is to the center of the actual bangle. We load the second file that we made in the second movie, and we start milling around the outside. Here we see the mill about 3/4 of the way done, milling around the outside. And here's the reason we use two separate borders, an inside border and an outside custom border. We're milling between the two. We're not milling anything in here in the middle of the wax. We don't need that. We're going to throw it away anyway. Here's the wax after the second milling job, and now the hub is centered in the middle of our bangle, and our bangle is now ready to come out of the wax and go on for the rotary, which is the third part. Now we'll talk about setting up the third part for that job. Back in Matrix, our model is in the same orientation we left it in at the end of the second movie, where we did the auto flip or the flat milling. For this job, we don't need any of our outside supports, so we'll right-click on them and get rid of them. We'll right-click on our custom borders, don't need those, and get rid of them, but we do need to have a ring rail to trick the system. So we're going to put a size 7 US ring rail in there. Anything would work, 16 down to a 2. Doesn't really make much difference. We're now ready to go into our C model builder. So we click on builder, come down to the C model. You may put the model in the model window at this point in time or not, doesn't matter, because the first thing we need to do is come up here where it says waxes. In the waxes, it says you are about to enter the wax library where you can edit wax definitions. Here it is not possible to determine which wax you want to use for milling process. In layman's terms, we're going to make a wax, we're not going to pick the wax. So we go OK. And the first thing we do is we come down here to our XL blocks. We're not going to do that because we're not working in XL. We're trying to trick the base clamp system. We're going to pick the base clamp, standard base clamp 39 by 39 by 20, and we're going to come down to copy. We click copy, that creates a new wax down here called 39 39 20 number 2. Backspace over the number 2. And we're going to backspace over the 39 by 39, and we're going to change that to 85 by 85. Now that's the new name, but we also need to come over here and change the thickness, or I'm sorry, the length to 85 and the width to 85. The thickness we leave there, and we make sure we hit the word set. Now it's changed it over to an 85 by 85 by 20 millimeter wax. You do not need to make a wax of this size. We're only doing this to bypass the software and get it to work for us. You don't need that wax. So now we come in here, we grab the model, throw it in the model window. It reads the ring rail, 17.33 millimeters, which is a US size 7. We come down to the base clamp or base fixture, and we come down to add hub. And you can see now the mill automatically picked out that 85 by 85 20, that dummy wax doesn't exist, and it picked that because that's what the model will fit, nothing else. We go next, you see there is no other choice. That's fine. Now we're going to use sides, 4 sides plus top, and go next. Back in the first movie, the hub that we made in here was 9 millimeters thick. We need to replicate that. So we're going to do a 9 millimeter hub with no supports, and we're going to create that hub. Now you get a hub, plus you get the vernier down at the bottom, and you get an outside support for the base clamp. Not a problem. Go ahead and put that into custom hub. Don't worry about location pin size. We never mess with that. We go here. Now, I'm going to do this as a course job just to make it go a little faster. And we are here to get rotary on center hub part 7 only. That means we're going to delete part 6. We're going to delete part 5, which are the hub cal parts. We get to part 4, and part 4 has 4 subparts. You have to delete these individually. You can't delete them all by hitting 4 and deleting it. 3 and 2 have individual parts, so no big deal there. And then 1. So now we're down to a single step, which is rotary on center hub. A couple more steps we need to do before we're ready to finish this. Border distance. That's telling me that I want the mill to go 2 millimeters on either side of the edge of my model out in space, milling air. a waste of time in this case because there's nothing out there. But we still want it to go down the side of the mill. So a number that seems to work pretty good for me is 0.3. 3/10 of a millimeters, doesn't waste time, gets good side definition. That is all we have to change here, and then we can make our paths. Make sure you click set down here, or you will be using the ring rail in here. You'll get the 2 millimeter anyway. There's our model, ready to rock and roll. Looks great. So we'd save that as the third part of the job. At this point, we come over to the mill. We'd gingerly cut the wax free so that we don't break the supports off in the model and scar the model. And you've got your arrow. The arrow will be on the left side, visible even when it's put on the prongs, and the arrow will point up between these two prongs. Here the wax is sitting on the mill waiting for us to load the part and start running the job. Here's the wax with the mill starting over actually at the bottom of the wax, just like every other wax that we do. And here's a lateral view. You can see where the wax is actually just being touched by the cutter. Now, you let it go over once or twice, stop the mill, and look at the two sides to see if the sides are being cut at all. If they are, we need to nudge this left or right the way we used to nudge the old A and B models before we came up with the wedge system. To nudge it, you go into the software, into calibration, come down and click on nudge. When you do that, you'll get a nudge panel like this. You can move that anywhere on the screen. Depending on whether you're in slow, medium fast, or fast, each of these clicks will give you a different amount. Slow will give you 0.004 millimeters per click. Medium slow will give you 0.01 or 1/100th of a millimeter per click. Medium fast will give you 0.05 or 5/100ths of a millimeter per click, and fast will give you a full 0.1 millimeter per click. And remember, this is like the old system, so that means when I click left, the tool is moving left away from or to the left compared to the model. If I click right, it is moving to the right. So if I'm contacting the right side of the model, I want to click right to move away from it. If I'm contacting the left side of the model, I want to click left to move away from that.